Tiffany, thank you so much for welcoming me into your gorgeous home in Atlanta and as part of PwC's Alumni Spotlight Series. I am just thrilled to introduce you. You are currently head of investor relations at Starbucks, but have a fantastic journey. And one of your jobs and something you're terrific at is storytelling. So I would love it if you would just start and tell us a little bit about your journey, sort of your life before you got to PwC.
Yeah, well, first, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and sit with you, Amity. You're such an icon, so I appreciate your time. So yes, my journey before getting to PwC, my father was in the military, in the Air Force specifically, and my mother was all about community service. And my parents thought I would be the mayor or something of that nature, something grand. But all of that actually changed when I was in the 9th grade. And the reason it changed is because I had my first child at the age of 14. And so I'm also a 9th grade dropout. And so through there, I found myself homeless, found myself in shelters and sleeping on couches. And somewhere, somehow, through that journey, I pulled myself up from my bootstraps and continued to school at an alternative school where I took my son with me to school every day and ultimately graduated high school and then went to college and found my way to PwC.
So that is an amazing story. So maybe go back to when you were going through this in high school. How did you actually get through the times when you really felt like you were challenged and it was hard to get through it?
Sometimes when you're challenged, there's no way but up. There's no alternative, there's no options. And so you just have to dig deep. And I tell people my superpower is grit, right? I always say, even to this day, I'm never the smartest in the room, but I'm always one of the hardest working.
Right.
And so that really was my superpower and what really helped me in those dark days of being that teenage mom. And that's really what helped me get to where I am today.
Talk a little bit about your journey from when you joined PwC to where you are today.
Yeah, so when I joined PwC, it really set me up for everything that I did professionally after that. Right? It taught me about client service. It taught me about that hard work ethic. It helped me tell a story from the financials. So who would have thought that experience would parlay into what I do today?
Exactly.
And so I really enjoyed my time at PwC. I was there for a number of years, first in the Pittsburgh office, and then in the Atlanta office, and then ultimately went into industry.
So one thing I think is once you join PwC, you're always part of the PwC family. Can you talk about some of the relationships you've kept and how the PwC family has been relevant to you even since you left PwC?
Yes, that is so true. Once you're part of PwC, you're forever part of PwC, and that's the beauty of it. And I think it speaks to the culture, right, and why it was so attractive even back then. So I've definitely kept in touch with a lot of my PwC cohorts, and then I have found a lot of mentors through my PwC family. For example, Derek Roman was a partner in Philadelphia when I was in Pittsburgh, and he took an interest in trying to help me through my early days at PwC and navigating the career and helping me understand the importance of having the diversified client base and things of that nature. And I still call on him for career advice. And then when I moved to Atlanta, I had PwC partner Larry Patrick. And even to today, he's still what I would call on my personal board of directors, who is a sounding board and also helps me with career advice. And it's great to be able to call on these individuals whenever I have questions, whether it's about community service, community engagement opportunities, board service, career advice, or anything personal. And it all started from PwC.
So you said that you want to be a CEO, and that came out of sort of something unusual. And now I'm dying to know more about that.
Yeah, so for me, I wanted to be a CEO for a number of years. And part of that is just showing all of the adolescents that have been through challenges and hurdles in their life, whether it's a teenage pregnancy, whether it's abuse in the home, whether it's alcoholism, whatever it is that someone has experienced. I want them to be able to see and look at me and say, wow, if she can do it, I can do it. And for me, that's getting to CEO. And for me, that's also then being in a position where I can allocate where we're going to spend our money. How are we going to help in community service? What does our community engagement approach look like? What does that plan look like? How are we going to get our employees and our partners engaged in the community? I want to be at the center of those decisions.
You are an amazing role model. So that is great. That is a terrific way to think about it. I'd love to hear your advice to your younger self, both your daughter and my daughter. What would you tell them knowing what you know now?
Yeah, the advice I would give my daughter, your daughter, and even others out there listening is to own your narrative. I think it's so important to own your narrative. We grow up and our children grow up and there's this facade that they're supposed to be what we want them to be. and they're supposed to be what our family feels like they should be. And I think it's so important for individuals to just own their narrative, own who they are at their core and what interests them and what they want to do and who they want to be. For example, when I, was pregnant at 14 and my family then all of a sudden felt like she's going to have a second child before she's 18. Will she graduate from high school? All these negative thoughts that came around me about what I would be now and how that suddenly changed. And I just took it upon myself to own my narrative. It's not up to anyone to write my story or my daughter's story or your daughter's story, but that individual. And that's the advice I would give them, is they have to be true to themselves, own what they are, own who they are, and dream big and go get it.
That is really beautiful, and thank you for sharing that. That is really meaningful. If you sit where you're sitting today and think about what is the legacy that you want to leave behind and how do you want people to think about you as a leader?
When I think about legacy, although I don't think I'm that old unless my grays are showing.
You'll have lots of opportunities to reflect on this question, and it will change a lot over your lifetime, which is why I ask you that. You will come back and think about it, and it will change.
Yeah. So I think about as a legacy that I would want to leave, especially as a leader, is someone who led and someone who interacted with other people, always with the mindset of be kind to others because you never know what they're going through. I think all too often that when we as professionals get to leadership positions, we sometimes forget that the people on our team are people first, and they just happen to be a team member. And I would pride myself in leaving a legacy of someone who always remembered that everyone on my team was just a person. They were a human. They were a mother, they were a father, they're a daughter, they're a sister. And just interacting with them day in and day out, knowing that they have challenges that they are dealing with at home, knowing that they have challenges that they leave at the door when they come into the building, and making sure that I appreciate and respect who they are more than just what they bring to the table as an employee, a partner, or an associate.
And that's great. That's such a great tie-in to Starbucks and the sense of community that you all have and a place where people go. I know I do when I am having a bad day and I need a break. So that's actually a really good tie into the role you have today, sort of bigger picture. Tiffany, thank you so much for having us here today, for being so generous and sharing your story, sharing your home, sharing your family. It has just been incredible to talk to you. You're so genuine and you are such a role model to so many of us. So it's just been terrific. And we just appreciate the time you spent with us.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you.